So get this. We're to really dig into this USDA grant program. It's all about making outdoor recreation more inclusive. And honestly, at first, I was like, oh, another grant announcement, yawn. But this one's different. They're doing some seriously cool stuff, some really innovative approaches. I think you'll be surprised.
Yeah, I was really struck by how the USDA is just like owning the fact that there's a problem. They're not shying away from it at all. Like they're straight up saying, hey, not everyone feels welcome in the outdoors. And, that's a big deal. This whole program, it's their way of tackling that.
I mean, it's about time, right?
Right.
So, okay, give us the basics. What's the deal with these grants?
Okay, so the USDA is offering these grants. They can run anywhere from 1 to 5 years. And they're all about supporting projects that, make outdoor recreation more inclusive and representative.
Yeah.
And this is specifically on national forest lands.
Okay, so that's where the money's going, national forest lands. Got it.
Yeah, but here's the thing. It's not just about, throwing money at the problem.
Oh, really? So what is it about then?
Collaboration. They call it a shared stewardship approach. Basically, it means that these projects got to benefit both the organization that gets the grant and the Forest Service.
Ah, so it's a two-way street.
Exactly. Real partnership, not just here's some cash, good luck.
Okay, that makes sense. So it's about working together to come up with solutions, not just funding whoever yells the loudest.
Yeah, and that's really clear when you look at what they want these projects to actually deliver, for example. They want toolkits, educational resources, translations of existing materials to make information more accessible.
Which makes sense.
Right, because, what good is information if people can't even understand it?
Exactly. So what else? What are some of the more impactful deliverables they're looking for?
Well, one of the big things they're pushing for is developing these outdoor recreation programs and events specifically designed for underserved communities.
So not just like one-off events, but something more sustainable.
Right. They want to see leadership development initiatives that help cultivate a new generation of diverse leaders in the outdoor recreation world.
That's awesome. I mean, having more diverse leaders and role models, that would completely change the landscape, pun intended. But do they go into any detail about how they want these programs structured?
Oh, yeah, definitely. They're really encouraging these projects to engage with subject matter experts from diverse backgrounds.
Okay, so not just people who look different, but people who have different experiences and perspectives.
Yes. Think about inclusive space design, addressing those specific barriers that different communities might face. They're really looking to go beyond those, surface level changes.
So it's about getting to the root of the problem.
Exactly.
I like it. It's like they're saying, okay, we know there's a problem. Now let's bring in the people who actually understand it to help us fix it.
Exactly. And they even talk about providing outdoor equipment and, introductory experiences for folks who might not have had access before.
Wow, that's a great idea. I mean, the cost of gear alone can be a huge barrier for some people.
Totally. And they want to remove those initial barriers,
Yeah.
financial, experiential, all of it.
I love that. It's like opening a door to a whole new world for people. But, it makes me wonder, how are they planning on reaching those folks who might not even know these opportunities exist?
Yeah, that's a great point.
I mean, it seems like marketing could play a pretty big role here.
No, absolutely. And the grant definitely acknowledges that. They're encouraging these projects to use marketing to, really showcase local outdoor opportunities and make them appealing to a wider range of people.
It's all about representation, right?
Right. If you want to create a truly welcoming environment, people have to see themselves reflected in the spaces they're visiting.
100%. It's got to be authentic, though.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And it goes beyond just visuals, too. The grant talks about building those genuine long-term connections between, agency staff and underrepresented individuals and organizations.
It's about building trust.
Exactly. Real trust and a sense of shared ownership over these public lands.
I like that a lot. Okay, so we've talked about accessibility, representation, building those relationships. But there's this one element of the grant that really got me thinking. This idea of uncovering and sharing untold stories and histories of public lands. I'm really intrigued by that. Can you tell me more?
Okay, so this is where things get super interesting. The USDA wants these projects to work with, indigenous groups, historians, diverse local communities, to find and share those hidden narratives that have often been, kind of pushed aside.
So it's not just about looking forward, but also acknowledging the past. That's really cool.
Right. Imagine, uncovering the contributions of people of color in, like cultivating, protecting, promoting the outdoors.
Wow.
Right. Think about how these untold stories could totally change how we understand who these spaces belong to.
It's like adding a whole new dimension to these landscapes. Suddenly, we're not just talking about trees and trails, we're talking about history, culture, and the human connection to these places.
Exactly. And it forces us to ask, whose stories have we been telling and whose voices have been missing? By amplifying those untold narratives, this grant has the potential to totally reframe how we view public lands.
It's like they're finally saying, hey, we haven't always done a great job of recognizing everyone's contributions, but we're ready to listen and learn. I mean, this is powerful stuff.
It is, and this is just the beginning. We haven't even talked about those practical aspects of inclusivity,
Yeah.
like, taking a hard look at existing rules and regulations that might be creating barriers without even meaning to.
Oh, right. There's so much more to unpack. So let's take a quick break and come back to those practical considerations in the next part of our deep dive.
It's easy to, get lost in those big ideas about making the outdoors more inclusive,
Yeah.
but sometimes those really impactful changes come from those smaller things, like looking closer at the actual rules and regulations in these spaces.
You're totally right. It's like, what's the point of all those welcoming programs if the rules themselves are keeping people out?
Exactly. So this grant, it encourages taking a critical look at those existing policies, like really asking, do these rules work for everyone? Are they fair? And if not, how can they be tweaked to better meet the needs of different visitors? It's recognizing that, one size fits all doesn't really work for inclusivity.
So it's about being flexible and adapting instead of holding on to these outdated rules that might be unintentionally excluding people.
Right. But it's not just about the visitors. The USDA recognizes that they need more diversity within the Forest Service itself.
Oh, interesting. So how does the grant address that?
Well, it supports things like inclusive job advertising, more targeted recruitment campaigns to attract a wider range of applicants.
That makes a lot of sense. If you want to create a welcoming space, it helps if the people managing and protecting those lands actually reflect the diversity of the people they serve.
Exactly. And it's not just about hiring a more diverse workforce. This grant also supports things like specific training and mentoring programs for employees from underrepresented backgrounds. It's about building a culture where everyone feels supported.
So it's not just about checking boxes, it's about creating a system that actually works for everyone.
Exactly. Now, remember how we talked about the grant encouraging those innovative solutions? Some of these proposals are really out there. One that I thought was really cool focuses on low-cost transportation options to help low-income families get to national forests and grasslands.
Oh, wow, that's huge. I mean, think about how many people just can't experience the outdoors simply because they can't afford to get there.
Right. It's a major barrier. And this proposal goes even further. They're suggesting partnerships with public transit, rideshare companies, even outdoor retailers.
So they're really trying to think outside the box.
Totally. It's about making it as easy and affordable as possible to get to these amazing places.
I love that. And you know what else would be cool? If they could get, some young creative people involved.
Well, guess what? They're doing that too. They actually suggest tapping into the talent of, like, photojournalism students, marketing students, even art students,
No way. To do what?
to design those inclusive signs and advertising campaigns for open spaces.
Oh, that's brilliant. Ditch those generic welcome to the park signs and use something that actually speaks to the community.
Right. It's about grabbing people's attention and making them feel like they belong, and then to make sure those messages are actually effective. Another proposal suggests developing whole training courses to equip Forest Service staff with the knowledge and skills they need to really make a difference.
So it's about changing mindsets, not just policies.
Exactly. Giving them the tools to be advocates for inclusivity in their own work.
I like it. Okay, we've covered a lot, but we've really only scratched the surface of all these proposals. What about those extra ideas we mentioned earlier? Let's dive into those, starting with cultural pathways. That one sounds really interesting.
Yeah, Cultural Pathways is really cool because it focuses on bringing historical storytelling and cultural inclusivity into the actual outdoor experience. They're talking about creating trails and installations that highlight the stories of diverse communities and their connection to these public lands.
So it's like turning a walk in the woods into a history lesson.
Kind of,
Oh,
but way more engaging. Imagine walking along and you come across bilingual signage, digital storytelling tools, maybe even augmented reality, bringing those historical narratives to life.
wow. That would be amazing.
Right. And they even want to partner with cultural organizations to offer guided tours and workshops.
That's incredible. It's like they're creating this living, breathing museum that celebrates all these different cultures. But wouldn't it be hard to make all those experiences accessible to everyone? What about people with disabilities?
Oh, they thought of that. They're really committed to ADA compliance across the whole project. Everything from the physical design of the trails to how the information is presented.
Okay, good. It sounds like they're really serious about this.
They are. But then there's the issue of people who simply can't get to these public lands in the first place.
Right, because even if you build it, they can't necessarily come.
Exactly. That's where Adventure for All comes in.
Hmm.
This is a nationwide initiative focused on creating these community hubs that provide everything. I mean, everything. From outdoor equipment and beginner-friendly guides to, wait for it, transportation.
Whoa, hold on. They're tackling transportation head on. That's ambitious.
Right. They're proposing partnerships with public transit, rideshare companies. They even want to create these regional gear libraries where people can borrow equipment, even adaptive gear.
Oh, wow. Imagine that. A gear library stocked with everything you could possibly need, all for free.
Right. It would be a total game changer. But it's not just about the gear. They're also planning educational workshops to help build confidence for outdoor activities, especially for folks who haven't had much exposure before.
So it's about giving people the tools and the knowledge to feel comfortable exploring the outdoors.
Yes, they want everyone to feel like they belong, no matter who they are or what their experience level is.
This is awesome. I'm blown away by all these ideas. Okay, we've got one more to go. Art in the wild. How does that make the outdoors more inclusive?
Art in the Wild takes this really unique approach by bringing art and cultural programming into nature. So you're creating these really immersive experiences that engage all your senses and connect you with the outdoors on this deeper level. Imagine walking through a forest and stumbling upon an outdoor art exhibit, or attending a performance series in the middle of a park.
Whoa, that would be so cool.
Right, it's like turning public spaces into these vibrant canvases for creativity. And to make it even better, they're planning mindfulness activities and workshops to really help people connect with nature.
So like guided meditations, yoga in the park.
Exactly. It's about creating this holistic experience that nourishes your mind, body, and soul.
I love it. It's like they're saying, come experience the outdoors in a whole new way. But wouldn't that require a ton of collaboration and coordination?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's why they're really pushing for those partnerships with local artists, community organizations, cultural institutions. They're also committed to accessibility for everyone, making sure everything's ADA compliant and offering multilingual resources.
Okay, phew, good. It sounds like they've really thought this through.
They have. They're even planning to involve multilingual facilitators and interpreters and make sure that physical accessibility is a priority for all the activities.
It's awesome to see how much effort they're putting into making sure everyone feels welcome and supported. But what about those who might not be able to participate in these programs because of mental health challenges or past trauma?
That's where our final proposal comes in. Nature is therapy, healing through outdoor experiences. This one focuses on using the healing power of nature to help people, especially those from marginalized groups who might not have access to traditional mental health services.
I've always found being in nature to be incredibly therapeutic, but how do they plan on turning that into an actual program?
They're proposing this combination of guided mindfulness walks, adaptive physical activities, and creative expression workshops, all in beautiful natural settings. Imagine accessible yoga sessions in a meadow, art therapy using natural materials, or even just a guided nature walk to help people reconnect with the peacefulness of the outdoors.
That sounds so peaceful. But wouldn't that require specialized training for the people leading these activities? Especially if some participants are dealing with trauma.
Absolutely, and that's a major part of the proposal. They're going to train facilitators in trauma-informed care, involve mental health professionals, and of course prioritize accessibility for everyone.
Okay, that's good to hear. It's so important to make sure those spaces feel safe and supportive for everyone.
Exactly. And to reach those who might benefit the most, they're going to do outreach through community health organizations and trusted community leaders.
That makes sense. It's all about building trust and meeting people where they are. This has been incredible. I'm so inspired by all the work they're doing. But we have one final category of partners to explore, and this one might surprise you. Get ready for some unexpected collaborations in part 3. Okay, so spill the beans. Who are these surprise partners we're talking about?
All right, get this. The military.
The military. Wait, what? How does that even fit in with inclusive outdoor recreation?
I know, right? It seems kind of out there, but think about it. The military has this huge emphasis on like teamwork, resilience, and, connecting with nature.
Okay, I'm starting to see it now.
Right. So imagine like partnering with them to create outdoor programs specifically designed for veterans.
That's actually a really good idea, especially considering how many veterans struggle with things like PTSD and transitioning back to civilian life.
Exactly. Being in nature can be incredibly therapeutic. And the military already has this like built-in structure and support system.
So you're talking about tapping into those existing resources and expertise to create these really targeted programs for veterans.
Exactly. But it's not just the military. They also suggest reaching out to folks in healthcare.
Healthcare, like doctors and nurses.
Yeah. Think about it. Nature can play a huge role in preventative care and overall well-being.
You're right. I mean, doctors are always telling us to get more exercise and fresh air.
Right. So imagine partnering with healthcare providers to, like, prescribe outdoor activities for their patients.
Oh, I love that. It's like instead of just handing someone a prescription for pills, you're giving them a prescription for a hike in the woods.
Exactly. It could be a total game changer for people's physical and mental health.
Okay, this is blowing my mind. We've got the military, healthcare. What other surprising partners are on the list?
All right, last but not least, education.
Teachers.
Yep. Think about how much kids learn through hands-on experiences, right?
Oh my gosh. Yes, field trips, nature walks.
Exactly. So imagine partnering with schools to create these outdoor education programs that really get kids excited about nature.
And not just any kids, but kids from communities that traditionally haven't had as much access to the outdoors.
Exactly. It's about leveling the playing field and giving everyone the opportunity to fall in love with nature.
This is incredible. I mean, who would have thought that a USDA grant program could lead to collaborations with the military, healthcare, and education? It really shows how interconnected everything is and how we can all work together to make a difference.
Absolutely. It's all about thinking creatively and realizing that the outdoors is for everyone.
And that's a wrap on our deep dive. We've covered so much ground today, from innovative grant proposals to surprising partnerships. What stood out to you the most?
For me, it was the realization that making the outdoors more inclusive isn't just about like building more trails or offering free gear. It's about shifting our mindset, challenging those old ways of thinking, and creating a space where everyone feels welcome and valued.
I couldn't agree more. We have this incredible opportunity to reimagine what the outdoors can be and to ensure that future generations inherit a world where everyone has the chance to experience the joy and wonder of nature.
Exactly. And it starts with each of us. What small step can you take today to make the outdoors a more welcoming place for everyone?
That's something to think about. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and we'll see you next time.